It is 7 p.m., and I call the February 13th, 2023 regular school board meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brian Wolpat, would you please call the roll?
Bridget Todd Robbins.
Here.
Brian Wolpat here. Barb Wench.
Here.
Alan Fox.
Here.
Jennifer Deek.
Here.
Maggie Smith.
Here.
Gary Dunlop.
Here.
Chris Lau.
Excused. With 6 of the 7 board members present, I declare a quorum. I note that the agenda has been posted, distributed, and sent to the local media. With this in mind, are there any changes to this agenda? I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as published.
So moved.
Brian has moved and Barb has seconded to approve the agenda as published. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve the agenda as published, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The motion to approve the published agenda has passed. All right, each year, the School District of Holmen invites local lawmakers to attend a board meeting to provide an update on legislation impacting public education and share their thoughts. I would now like to welcome State Representative Stephen Doyle to the presenters table. Hey, Stephen.
Yeah, you got her. Yeah, we let you sit down here, so. And then there's a mic there for you to speak. Yeah.
So, thanks for the invitation. Again, I always love talking about public education. I always love coming to visit the Holmen School Board. Interestingly, I have 5 school districts or parts of school districts in my state assembly district, and you're the only ones that invite me on a regular basis to come and talk. And that's great. I don't know why the others don't, but that's their problem, I guess. So we are 5 weeks into our current session. Be a long night, maybe. We're 5 weeks into our current session. Try this one more time. And it's actually kind of gotten off to a fairly slow start. So here's how our 2-year election period runs. We get elected November, we get sworn in the first week of January, and then we're in our what's called our first floor period. And things are actually kind of quiet in terms of the number of committee meetings that we've had so far and bills that have gone through. We actually had 3 potential session days this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and they've canceled all of them except Wednesday night is the governor's budget speech. So I'll be there on Wednesday. The big thing, obviously, at this time of the year is the biennial state budget. So that's what we're going to be hearing about on Wednesday night from the governor. He will lay out his priorities, his proposal for the budget. The legislature then gets it. Unfortunately, typically what happens is the governor sends it to the legislature throws it in the garbage and starts over with their own. It's just unfortunate the way the system works, but that is kind of what we have come to expect. On the other hand, it's probably an exaggeration to say throw in the garbage can, but they certainly start from their own beginning in terms of the legislature. And that's really kind of true whether it's Democrats or Republicans. The legislature wants to have its stamp on the budget. So rather than working off the governor's document, the legislature tends to initiate its own budget, starting with the Joint Finance Committee. So the governor has been kind of doing teasers over the last couple weeks in terms of what is going to be in the budget. It actually kind of started with his State of the State speech about a month ago. And then over especially the last few days, he has been talking about, well, this is going to be in there on this topic, and this is going to be there on this topic. I was really excited to be speaking here tonight because today was the day the governor was supposed to talk about his public education proposal. It got moved, I think, to tomorrow. So I was going to have a great scoop for you, all the new stuff that's going to be in the budget. I think we kind of know already from the State of the State speech what the big things are that are going to be in there. There'll probably be a few more things that show up in his speech on Wednesday, and then obviously in the budget document itself. But we, as you know, we have about a $7 billion surplus, so now is our chance to do some catch-up. And that surplus, of course, we have to remember is really one-time money. You can't just take that and say, okay, now we're going to raise everything by a certain amount and hope that that money's going to be there, in the budget 2 years from now, because it obviously won't be. But we are looking at, the governor is looking at some significant spending for public education. He's proposing a nearly $2 billion investment in public education for 23 to 25, really focusing on several different areas. Things like literacy and math initiatives, looking at giving you, school boards, more ability to increase revenue limits. His proposal for 22-23 is $350 per pupil. In 23-24, it's $650 per pupil. Also, I know a big expense for public school districts is special ed. He's talking about proposing $750 million more over the biennium in special education funding. Looking at increasing mental health categorical aid. So mental health, financial literacy, and just kind of a general dealing with the bigger issue of drug addiction in our society is also a topic for public education in the governor's budget. Most counties in the state of Wisconsin are short counselors, psychiatrists, and so forth. I'm guessing you're facing the same thing in the Holmen School District in terms of having enough people to do the counseling and provide those services to students. That's a bigger issue than just public education, and it is something that we're seeing. If you talk to Gunderson and Mayo, they're going to tell you the same thing. They just can't find them at any price. They're just not out there. And it is in so many of the professions. A side note, I thought I was going to have to be in Madison overnight on Wednesday for a meeting on Thursday morning. I have my annual dermatology checkup on Thursday morning at 7:15. I have to be there. So seeing that thought I was going to have to be in Madison on Thursday, I called to see if I could reschedule it, and they said, well, it's going to be out a little ways. And I said, that's fine. So the next appointment they had available is March 2024, 13 months later that I could get in. So it's not just psychiatrists, it's all throughout the health system. You're, I know, facing the same issues with teachers. There are just so many professions that you just can't find the people today. The downside of having nearly full employment, of course, is that when you need them, they're simply not there. So that is an issue that the state is trying to look at in terms of, can we not just attract people, but keep them? And so one of the proposals in the governor's budget is going to be to allow teachers who've retired to come back and teach. And I know that has been a hot topic where some people feel that's double dipping. I don't. I have always thought that if you've got a person out there who's got the skill and they're eligible to retire, God love them, they do, but then they decide they want to come back and dabble a little bit, it's good for you, it's good for them, obviously good for the students. So I certainly favor that. There's a proposal in the governor's budget related to, it's a $5 million initiative to improve financial literacy. I'll talk about that in just a minute, a little bit further on that. As I said, the things like math and so forth, the governor has a Do the Math initiative that is going to focus on those, what I guess you could call the hard skills that we really need students to be picking up. As the governor said in his State of the State speech, he wants 2023 to be the year of mental health. I have some special background in that area. I've served on the Speaker's Task Force on Suicide Prevention. One of my bills from that is in the governor's budget. I also have another bill relating to some benefits for veterans that the governor put in his budget, so I'm excited about that. But we are looking at record high levels of suicide, record high levels of drug overdose. If you talk to the recently retired medical examiner for La Crosse County, we have just blown the doors off in terms of the numbers of drug overdose deaths, and it's fentanyl by far is the one that, a few years ago you'd heard about that drug as a problem, and it has just exploded, and that is something that I'm assuming you're seeing at the school level. We're seeing that at the adult level, and we need to deal with that issue as part of the overall mental health topic. I wrote a letter to the Speaker of the Assembly, Robin Voss. I've served on a number of Speaker's task force where he brings in people from both parties to deal with a particular issue. And I have a constituent in my district who is a doctor who was, for most of his career, an OBGYN. He's now, to the extent that he would call it retired, he's kind of retired, but his passion right now is pregnant women who are addicted to drugs. And he came to meet with me about a month ago, and as a result of my meeting with him, I wrote a letter to the Speaker asking to create a Speaker's task force specifically on that topic, pregnant women who are addicted to drugs. There is a provision in the law, not just strictly related to pregnant women, but to drug addicts, the Good Samaritan law, where if you're kind of involved and the person is suffering from an overdose and you call the police, you're not going to get arrested or you're not going to get in trouble. That law is expired. And so we need to, re-up that one so that, again, it's just one of the tools that we need to keep in the toolbox. So that's an issue that I'm hoping that we're going to be talking about. So mental health is going to be a real big issue. The thing I said I wanted to come back to, I got an email today from a person. There's a bill that has been that will be introduced that they're looking for co-sponsors, and they asked me to co-sponsor this one that would require 1/2 credit of personal financial literacy for high school graduation. Normally, I always say, let the school board decide. Big on local control. I know that the schools and school districts have been working with financial institutions, credit unions, and banks to really push the idea of financial literacy. So I wanted to take your temperature on a bill like that. Would you just rather say, no, we'll decide those things, we don't want the state telling us that? Or is this something where there is a consensus where you'd say, yeah, we probably should have that across the state? So I'm going to end on that topic and ask you what your opinion is on that bill.
Well, I like the idea, but I don't know if everybody does, because I think that everybody who graduates from school needs to understand how to manage their finances.
So the specific provision here says, have credit of personal financial literacy that includes financial mindset, education and employment, money management, saving and investing, credit and debt, risk management, and insurance. So
Seems to me like something everybody needs to know.
they seem
So-
pretty logical. Any further thoughts on it?
I don't think it would affect school districts like ours too much. I mean, we cover that with, I forget the name of the class, acquiring wealth. Is that it?
Personal finance.
Personal finance.
And we try to get the kids up to speed so they know how to use their credit cards and et cetera. So
Sure.
I think it's a good thing to have that in place, but the good school districts, I think, are already trying to cover that. And
I suspect a lot of school districts would be in this situation where they're saying, yeah, of course, well, we're already doing it, so we're not opposed, but we don't need it because it's already on our agenda. So, okay.
So, something like that is much more common and something that I would say most districts already do and many times require, unlike some of the other mandates I think that come through in courses that they ask us or want us to start requiring across the board, which are sometimes more challenging because you don't have the fiscal increase to do that.
And I know that there's like the flavor of the day, what's the topic now that we want to have our schools deal with, and yeah, I wouldn't want something like this to get into that, category where it's just like, okay, this is somebody's buzzword now, we're going to do that. But thank you for your input on that. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you've got.
I'd like to have a couple of credits put into schools on teaching kids how to make informed decisions. We offer some assistance in that in our district, trying to help the kids learn how to make informed decisions. It seems like that's getting more and more important every day.
Well, given that most of my life is involved in politics, I think I know exactly why we need that. I think there are a lot of people these days that are making decisions based upon the commercials they see on TV or what they're hearing their buddies talk about at the bar, and they're not asking the tough questions. So I think, informed decision-making, is there a class like that? I mean, is there a structured?
I can remember we had a discussion about assistance for the students, was it? Or, I mean, that term was used about helping the kids learn how to make informed decisions.
We do that, we do some of that in our health classes, with our ninth graders in advanced health, and then character strong, and leadership classes. We'll be covering that at high school.
I think that's an important topic right now.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, so we hear a lot about the fiscal cliff that's coming, with ESSER funds expiring, with enrollment going down, with the amount of dollars per pupil that we receive, and all these things kind of converging at the same time. I guess, what areas do you see Democrats and Republicans coming together on to help prevent that from occurring?
I think some aspects of education could be in that category. I think there is certainly a divide between Democrats and Republicans on the issue of voucher schools and so forth. I mean, one of the Republican proposals is to have universal voucher program rather than the income-based one. But I think that certainly, if we looked at last budget, there was a significant increase, not as much as we wanted, maybe more than they wanted. So I think that public education is one area. I think that I like these areas where they're not partisan. So, I was on the Speaker's Task Force on child welfare, kids in the, adoption and child neglect system. Speaker's Task Force on adoption, Speaker's Task Force on suicide prevention. Those are nonpartisan issues. I think the whole drug explosion, fentanyl and so forth, I think you're going to see a lot of consensus on that, including spending some real money to deal with that, rather than just, you can make mandatory life imprisonment for possession of fentanyl and it's not going to change anything. I mean, we can't just penalize our way out of that problem. So I think we're going to see more money being devoted to mental and drug-related health to try to get a handle on that. Everybody seems to be on the same page in that regard. Everybody talks about fixing our roads. So, that's as the governor said, he was elected to fix the damn roads, and he's been fixing the damn roads. So, we see some consensus on that. I don't know that we have consensus in the area of health care. And, Democrats for years have pushed the idea of, taking the Medicaid money from the federal government so that we can expand coverage for people for health care. I mean, there are some aspects of health care that, I think there's some consensus on, but I think that's an area where there's not as much as I'd like. Overall tax policy, Republicans and Democrats both in this budget are saying, let's give tax cuts. Different mindset in terms of Republicans would like an across-the-board tax cut. The Democrats would like it focused on middle and lower income groups of people. There will be a tax cut that's going to have a combination of those. I think that's pretty predictable. Nobody's going to get exactly what they want. But of course, you give a tax cut and that starts to then take money out of the system so that we don't have it to spend on the various programs, which is fine. I mean, we can't just go on a spending spree, especially, as I said at the beginning, that, it is one-time money. Overall, the issue of declining enrollment, I would, I was meeting with Aaron Engel from the La Crosse School District a week or so ago, and we talked about, that's obviously a very big issue for them. And, just what is the solution? And it really, it's a problem across the state, but different school districts have different parts of it. But everybody is going to, ultimately have to deal with that. And so in that regard, I think it would make sense to try to get in front of it. I mean, it's too late for some school districts. They're already, kind of crashing and burning in that regard. But before it gets to be, a statewide crisis in terms of declining enrollment, looking at the aid formula, and if nobody in my branch of government understands the school aid formula. I'm assuming that there's a couple of people here that do, but it's a very complicated area. But it's going to have to be dealt with as part of fixing the declining enrollment issues. And so I would like to see us do something on that, but legislatures are better at reacting than proacting. So I'm guessing you're going to have to, it's like totally unrelated. We saw PFAS in the water on French Island, and it was a problem here, and people in Madison yawned. Well, then they discovered it up north, and then they discovered in the Fox River Valley, and now all of a sudden it's a statewide issue because, this is my area. So we're going to see that, I think, with declining enrollment. And with rural school districts, typically generally represented by Republicans, I think we're going to see a greater attention to that issue, because I think that we're seeing a lot of declining or at least frozen enrollment in those school districts. So I kind of rambled on my answer there. Sorry about that. But we've got a lot on our plate, and I hope that we start to address it.
And do you see that both parties are in favor of or supporting additional dollars for special ed? Just because we have
I think
many
so.
kids.
I mean, for as often as I hear it from the mouths of both Democrats and Republicans and the governor and the legislature, I do think you're going to see greater emphasis on that. The problem is how you define it. As I just said, in the last budget, the Republicans were saying, record spending for public education. The Democrats were saying, well, we really kind of wanted more. And so is the glass half full or half empty? Well, we're going to put more water in the glass, but I don't know that we're going to fill it. But I think special ed is an area that everybody is recognizing as a huge issue, and we've got a long ways to go on that. So I wouldn't, I think it was $750 million that the governor was talking about adding to special ed, statewide. I would hope that the Republicans look at that as a serious proposal, and not just a wish list. There's some other things in there that they're going to just say, no, we're not going to do that. But I wouldn't be surprised to see special ed being something that people can rally around and deal with that.
Yeah.
And we're going to know within the next 4 months, basically, so it's going to be interesting.
So, okay, any other questions?
I just want to ask, you made a comment about trying to get ahead of declining enrollment and whatnot. And I know that part of the issue we're seeing is this almost pandemic of chronic absenteeism that has a lot of different root causes. Has that been a conversation at all when I think about transportation needs? And you touched a little bit upon mental health supports, and this math and literacy emphasis.
I have not heard that mentioned, so I'm glad that you brought that up. Tell me more about what you're seeing there.
I think, and I know there's folks here in the room, that we have a county-wide task force that's looking at chronic absenteeism.
Was
where
that
we're
made
seeing-
worse or caused by COVID at all? Or?
I think it was exacerbated by it, but we've definitely seen, mental health issues showing up in kids based on, screen time, social media kind of this lack of engagement by students, sort of this lack of belief that school is important. So then when I hear about you talking about financial literacy, I think, yeah, that might be something that could motivate students to be at school. Because I see youth these days being very motivated by making money and wanting to get out of school as fast as they can.
Sure. So I know that there has traditionally been some tension between school districts and the county in terms of what their role is in, enforcing some of the rules. Are you on the same page in terms of chronic absenteeism? Is the county saying that's your issue, not our issue, or are they at all involved in that?
Oh, no, it's definitely a collaboration
Okay,
between
good.
La Crosse County Human Services and all of the school districts in our county.
Okay.
I think, it's showing up in various ways across our school districts, and there's a variety of root causes that I think are rooted in a lack of resources for our students and families.
Okay. Well, thanks for bringing that one up. I will make a note of that and do a little bit of, investigation and see what the legislative response on that can be. I mean, obviously the logical thing is, let's see if we can throw some money at the problem, is the typical solution to many other things that get dumped in our lap. But let me ask around, because I have, quite honestly, not heard a lot of talk about that. So thanks for
Yeah, I
bringing
know
it
there's some really good national data that just came out around
Okay.
surveying some of those root causes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thanks, Steve.
As always, thank you very much. I really enjoy being here.
Enjoyed having you.
Thank you very much, Representative.
Okay, and public participation, we have no public participation tonight, okay? And moving on to recognition and thank yous, Dr. Mueller.
Yeah, I have a few things to share this evening. First, this week is our Drivers Recognition Week, so make sure we thank all of our drivers, our bus drivers, our van drivers in the district for all of their work, and also just our whole entire transportation department. And we have our mechanics that keep our buses running, and then our actual, Dan Garrett and Andrea and our transportation department, making sure we can keep our buses rolling and getting the kids each and every day through the rain, snow, shine, sleet, whatever you want to say this year. We're getting it all. So we just thank all of our transportation staff. And then next week is FFA week. So Future Farmers of America chapters around the country celebrate National FFA Week. It's been a week-long tradition that began in 1947. And so we'll just be watching, and we know they have a lot of special events going on in the district, and especially at the high school, and even have a guest speaker I saw coming to talk to their A class, so we look forward to all of that. Speaking of the high school, we have a high school teacher to celebrate this evening. Donna Calloway was chosen as this month's WKBT News 8 Top Notch Teacher. In that, she was nominated for her sense of compassion, energy, and her sense of humor in the words of her students. So she works very closely with many of our students at the high school, and is an advisor for many different activities and clubs. You always see her around, so we just, congratulations to her, and we thank her. And then, excuse me, I just wanted to end tonight to just really ask people to please take caution as out here on McHugh Drive outside of our high school, and that it's a very busy road, especially as we are coming to school and as our school day ends. And just really, we're seeing more and more people, I don't know if you say in a hurry or just distracted. And we do have many students that cross our road out there after school, and I hate seeing them have to do the 50-yard dash or whatever you want to call it across the street. And it would just be nice to really take our time, pay attention to what's going on, and allow our students to cross the road safely. We'll be I'm excited to share, and we mentioned this before, that there will be a lot of work done along with not only a roundabout, but other work done with our crosswalk and that this summer. But in the short term, while we're waiting for these improvements to happen, we just need to really be cognizant of the safety of our students. So thank you for helping us with that.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Moving on to reports and discussion. Item 9.1, Holmen High School Activities Director Jason Luloff will next present the co-op agreement renewal for boys hockey for approval on tonight's consent agenda.
Hello. No, this is, no, this is just, you don't need to see this. It's all right. So boys hockey is up for co-op renewal as well. I came to you not long ago for swimming, which triggered the other ADs to get going on their co-ops. I'll do better about bringing them all together in the future, but we're back for this one. Lacrosse Aquinas is the host school for this one, and we are a part of this co-op, have been for as long as I can remember. I'm not sure exactly how many years. The co-op is between Lacrosse Aquinas, Holmen, Gilesville, Ettrick, Trempealeau, Luther, Cochrane, Fountain City, Cooley Christian. Some of these teams currently are not providing players, but they're still listed in the co-op in case they get some future interest. We do have the bulk of the athletes in this particular co-op. I think this year we're nearing 30 players. It's my belief that this co-op probably couldn't exist without us. Like, we're probably the mainstay at the moment, although the teams have sort of fluctuated in numbers over time. Just like the swimming agreements, this would be handled in the same manner, only we would not be the host of this one. So Lacrosse Aquinas handles the finances and then essentially bills us at the end of it, a per player, just like the other co-op agreements we had discussed previously. So I'm just asking for the blessing of this co-op to continue for 2 more years, and signatures for that, and then we would technically move forward with our boys hockey Avalanche co-op team. Questions?
Questions? No questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 9.2. Next, Executive Director of Finance and Operations Julie Holmen and Director of Business Services Crystal Mott, along with Janice Wavra, Corporate Benefits Specialist from the Insurance Center, will provide the 22-23 Employee Benefits Renewal Presentation. This item is for report only and will not appear on a consent agenda. Hello, ladies.
Hello, good evening. So this is a report-only item because we don't get the renewal for July 1 until April, and so that, at that time, we come back with the actual renewal rates for the plans. So presenting this evening, we do have Janice Walver from the Insurance Center with us. Welcome. Thank you. So Janice has served the School District of Holmen for many, many years, and it's just been an amazing relationship to have her as our corporate benefits specialist through the Insurance Center, which is located in Onalaska. So it's in great proximity to serve our needs in business services and benefits, as well as all of our staff and even our retirees that access her wisdom. She also provides a lot of education opportunities for our staff here on site throughout the year. So this is our agenda this evening. We'll be talking about design, health plan design and rates, some loss ratio history. Again, this is a July 1 renewal, so that loss ratio history, you'll see the calendar year 22, and then some year-to-date since last July 1 is included in that, so we don't have loss ratio yet for the second half of this plan year. We'll talk about some promotions, some premium stability and the history on that, so you can see really how well our plan has run and how we've tried to keep those costs down for our employees and the employer. And then we won't we will show you what it will look like for employee and employee or premium changes, but not the actual dollar amounts, because again, we won't have those renewals until April for the single and family plans. And then some health plan comparison, some design considerations, and then recent accomplishments.
So this is a 2-year comparison of our health plan. Our plan is a high deductible health savings account, or HSA compatible plan. As a district, we contribute to the employee's HSA account. This is not a requirement, but an added benefit associated with our group health and our total benefit plan. We contribute to the HSA with a base amount of $750 for single or $1,500 for family participants. That's reflected about halfway down the screen here. And then those individuals have an opportunity to receive an additional contribution through our wellness program, leading up to the maximum levels of HSA contributions reflecting here. And then at the very bottom, just demonstrating the previous 2-year total monthly premiums of both single and family rates.
This slide represents the actual loss ratio for 21 and 22. The district's health insurance plan runs on a plan year basis, which is July 1st through June 30th. But for comparison purposes, this is based off a 12-month calendar. So the left-hand side of the screen shows the 2021, and then the right is for 2022. And when we talk about medical loss ratio, you'll look, it's broken down per month, the premiums that are paid versus the claims to come up with that medical loss ratio, which is a percentage. And from a carrier's perspective, they like to be in that 85% loss ratio is their target. And for 21, we are at 86%, and for 22, we are at 101. So we're running a little bit hotter, higher than we have in previous years. For the last couple months of 2022, there will be some adjustments with that because there's still what we call a run-out period. So claims that incurred the end of November and into December maybe have not been processed yet. So when we meet again, we should be able to provide you with updated numbers for the balance of 2022. This kind of shows you our rate stability. So every year, as we continue to educate or provide educational opportunities for the employees, we talk about where to access care, how to be better consumers, and it does have a direct impact on the overall renewals from year to year. And we also work with our carriers to try to keep the cost not only to the district but to the employees as marginal as possible. And when you look at this, it shows you where the rates for the districts have been starting in 2013 to current. And again, we've been pretty successful in being able to control that cost from year after year. Yes, there's been some plan changes over that course. Back when I first started working with the district, we had multiple carriers, multiple plans, different plan years. So we've really been able to streamline that for the district and for all the employees here. And with regard to promotions, as Julie alluded to, we do offer what we call promotions or some education and communication to the employees and their families that try to reduce the cost to the employees and also to the district. So the Neighborhood Family Clinic and the Community Care Clinic offers an opportunity for the employees and their families that are covered under the district's health insurance plan to go there for medical services at no cost. So not only is it a lower cost option, meaning the member pays nothing, but also they're convenient and take same day appointments. So we really try to encourage the employees and their families to utilize that. Another key component of utilizing the cash clinics, it doesn't apply to the district's medical loss ratio. So the more that we can encourage employees and family members to use the cash clinic options, it helps pull those claims off of the medical loss ratio, which is a win-win. The GoodRx, that's just a component of where to look at lower cost options for prescriptions. Last week I was on site doing education on where to access prescription at lower cost. Also, how to utilize coupons that are available so that we can reduce the overall spend on, not only in the medical side, but also on prescriptions. And that falls back into that healthcare consumerism, trying to stress to employees and family members where to access care at the lowest cost, but still get quality care. Retiree and Medicare is something we've been very proactive as employees elect to start thinking about retirement and or that are approaching age 65. We provide a separate educational series on where to access care, lower cost, trying to help them make some decisions that are best for them. And then the Employee Assistance Program, Mr. Doyle talked about the need. We've seen a very much increase in Employee Assistance Program needs or mental health opportunities because there is a higher need for it and less providers in our market that offer those resources. Teledoc and telehealth were more brought up during COVID. Teledoc is available 24/7. It's another opportunity for employees to be able to do a virtual visit, and our carrier offers 3 different options. They have a general health, mental health, and also for dermatology, which again is one of the areas where we have a shortage in providers in our area. And telehealth is really a scheduled visit during regular clinic hours with your normal provider. And then Real Appeal was a new program that was rolled out. It's a weight loss program, and we've had very good feedback on that, and it's for members that qualify, both employees and spouses, if they're enrolled in the district's health insurance plan. It's another tool to help them meet some of those maybe weight management goals or healthier lifestyle choices.
So Janice alluded to premium stability. The charts on the screen include single premium on the left and family premium on the right, and we will show you the next 2 slides that actually blows each one of those up, so it's not so hard to see. But this is the history since 2012. The gray is the premium, and the maroon is the employee cost. The red line is a 6% increase to demonstrate like what the market might be doing and what we're doing here in Holmen. So you can see we've really worked hard with some plan design change over the years to keep the cost down for both the School District of Holmen and the employees. So this is the single one blown up, and you can kind of see better like what is that cost per single plan per month and the distribution. For fully eligible health insurance participation in Holmen, just as a reminder, the employer does pay 85% of the premium and the employee picks up 15%. So that's the distribution you're seeing in the gray versus the maroon on the screen. And this is the same for the family premium distribution.
So then, as mentioned earlier, this is the example that gets updated when we have our true renewal rates. This one, for example, would reflect the employee change, that 15% that they pay of the total premium. We would be reflecting, based on our renewal, whether there is an increase or a decrease to that amount. And then here again, it's the same that will be updated for the employer portion, the 85% that we pay, as well as some updates of the HSA benefit amounts, again, which is paid by the district but not required, or those wellness components of the plan. So again, coming back with the true renewal rates once received.
Okay, this slide represents some different information. I think it's nice every year to compare how the district's health insurance compares to other districts in the area and also the private sector. We're all trying to recruit and retain quality employees, and benefits can sometimes make a decision on where an employee is going to elect to retain employment or join the district here. So the information that is on the left side is the MVC +3 districts. So I contacted each district to obtain their 2022-23 health insurance plan. And then the information that is to the right is the private sector. So I have a lot of employer groups in the area that are what we call private sector, so I have access to their benefits as well. So we wanted to be able to compare not only the district's plan against the MVC +3, but also the private sector. And if you can see the bullet points that are listed, 1 of 8 offer a lower deductible than Holmen's. So we're well above what the norm is. 1 of 8 offer an HRA or an HSA benefit higher than Holmen. And as Crystal alluded to, the HSA contribution that's given to the employees that are enrolled in a health insurance plan is not required. A lot of our employer groups do not offer an HSA, so that's really a great benefit. That's in addition to the district paying 85% of the premium. 2 of 8 do not offer an HRA or an HSA. 3 of 8 offer the same co-insurance as Holmen, so the in-network is 80-20, meaning the employee is responsible for 20% of the charges after the deductible's been met. 7 of 8 pay 80 to 88% of the premium, and Holmen pays 85. And 4 out of 8 offer a lower maximum out of pocket than Holmen's $4,000, $8,000. And there are some variance there because some of the districts offer more than one plan, and they have different plan designs. So I think that's important to be aware of as well. And then when you look at the private sector, it's completely a different dynamic. Most of our private sector employers only offer an HMO plan, which means you have restricted access to where you go for care. So that's very normal in the private sector. The private sectors require their employees to pay a larger percentage of the premium. So it's a lot of our employer groups have migrated to the employee picking up more of the cost, less cost to the employer, and modifying plan design. So again, it's a completely different picture when you look and try to compare those plans. But I think it's important for you to see that as well from the private sector. As far as what the plans that we're considering for the 2023-24, if the renewal comes back favorable, our recommendation would be able to keep the plan design the same as the current plan to the district employees. The current district plan does offer a much broader network, which gives your employees and their family members choice. So the current plan includes both Gunderson and Mayo locally, which is certainly an advantage than some of the other districts in our area, and certainly the private sector. Expanding and looking at a 2-tier rate is what the district currently offers, which is employee or family. And we're looking at considering a 4-tier rate, which would be single, employee spouse, employed children, or family. And certainly something that we're going to analyze the cost impact to the district and also to the employees. If the renewal comes back unfavorable, then we would look at different plan modifications to see where we could try to reduce the cost, not only to the district but also to the employees. Certainly want to have those changes as minimal as possible. One thing we have talked about would be to narrow the network because there is a differential in what the discounts are depending on where you access care. There are other districts in the area that have gone to that type of a plan design model where they offer a broader network and they also offer a more restricted network, and there's a premium differential. So that is something that we would consider and look at based off the renewal. The Alliance Network, which is where your employees and the families are accessing Gunderson, offers about a 42% discount, meaning what the charge is, the actual charge minus the discount is what the net. And the PHCS network, which is the mail access locally, is about 8.5%. So there is a big difference between the discounts that our 2 local providers allow for those charges. So those are all things that we will consider depending on where the renewal is. And at the very bottom, it does show that the ACA, which is the Affordable Care Act, the maximum out of pocket for in-network services does increase, or did increase January 1st, which would be reflected as of July 1.
Next up is a few of our accomplishments over the last year and a little bit further back, just to share with the board this evening. 2 years ago, we worked with a representative at the insurance center to adopt Employee Navigator, which is an online benefit enrollment system. And that has been going really well, so we got rid of most of our paperwork and manual enrollment that way. The thing that we added most recently to Employee Navigator is our wellness program, so that was designed in-house for reaching those wellness goals for the additional HSA contributions or ABP if you are on the alternative benefit plan. So we were able to incorporate that into the Employee Navigator software, which is, again, one place for the employee to go for both their enrollment in our benefits in the district and also for their wellness. And then a tremendous amount of resources are also available on Employee Navigator, so that's been a good addition. We also added 3 different voluntary plans through Allstate. They are voluntary, but employees that participate in those are able to do that through payroll deduction of those premiums. And again, the neighborhood family care and community care clinic utilization is something that we encourage and educate about in order to reduce cost and remove those charges from the loss ratio or from the utilization. And so we continue to try to promote those services. A year and a half ago or so, the one in Holmen opened up, and so it's really convenient. Again, telehealth and teledoc access availability. Real Appeal, like Janice says, was new in last January. I think we kind of kicked off that campaign. I was just going to tell a little bit about that. So in 2021, we had 18 enrolled in Real Appeal, and this year we have 7 enrolled, 3 currently engaged. So just it's kind of unusual to have weight loss on your health insurance plan, and so this was kind of a big deal for us to be able to add this to our plan and promote this to our staff that need that extra support and qualify for it. So as far as HSA, so the health savings account, employee participation, 320 employees participate, and over 88% of them received the max contribution. So again, for single, that was 1,500 base plus wellness, and then for family, 3,000 base plus wellness. And so that's a great participation max for receiving those top benefits under HSA. Again, also for ABP, we have the base plus the wellness to achieve the max contribution from the district, and 91.5% of our ABP eligible participants received the max amount. The next one just gives you an idea how much the employer does contribute to the HSA contributions, and that's around $715,000. And then employees, because you can also contribute to your HSA account up to the IRS allowable calendar max, we have about $419,000, or 58% of our HSA accounts through the employer that are also participating through payroll deduction to add to their HSA savings. So as I said in the beginning, we'll be coming back and working through the renewal and plan design and bringing updated information in April, usually. We like to have that in hand before May and start our enrollment open window as try to get employees in to make their elections before they leave for their summer break. And so we try to make sure that we have that information to you and then out to them in May. Any questions this evening?
I have a couple for you. So one of the things I've heard a lot about recently is the wellness program and its impact on that HSA contribution from the district. I'm curious, amongst the other districts like MVC +3 that do have an HSA benefit like that, where they're getting something from their employer, is it common to couple that with wellness requirements or like a wellness program together to get the contribution?
If you'd like.
Some of the districts do require some engagement from their employees to get a richer benefit, not only on the HSA, but also the HRA. The spreadsheet, I believe it was included in your board packet. That is the school districts, and after you look at the actual plan design, it does list if there's an HSA or HRA, and it does note if there's a wellness component requirement. It should.
I see it for Holmen. I see the
Okay.
wellness component. I don't see it for the others, which is my question, I guess,
Okay,
about whether or not like any of those other HSA contributions are tied to wellness, like what that looks like. I'm just curious. And then just to reiterate and ensure that I understood it, the 4-tier rate you mentioned, that would alleviate, I think, some of the concerns we've heard about single parent households who are paying family. Yeah, okay. Well, I will say, I think that sounds like an awesome option then. That was one of my questions as well. And then my final one was, over the years that the district has offered wellness initiatives, have we ever overlaid the program or the initiatives with claims to see if there were impacts one way or another when there was a varying wellness requirements?
I can answer when we did Helix, but I'm not sure
Right,
since then.
right, and we've changed, so you can speak to it, but
Okay.
we've changed our wellness.
When the wellness program was first rolled out, we offered biometric screenings by Helix. And we definitely then could see a change in the claims because, first of all, the biometric screenings that were offered were about if you would go and have those same labs done at one of our local providers, not the neighborhood family clinic like Gunderson or Mayo. It was equivalent of just over $1,000 in labs versus what was paid to Helix per employee or family member. So those claims were not applied to the medical loss ratio. So everyone that was able to have their biometrics done by Helix, it excluded those charges from being part of the medical loss ratio because they could take the results and provide them to their physician and they wouldn't have to duplicate those labs. We also were able to catch some of high medical risk due to the results of the biometric screenings. They would get what's called a lab alert. And there were a number of those that employees or family members were not aware that they had an existing medical condition going on, but the lab alerted them so that they could move forward with the appropriate medical attention. So I do know in those situations we did catch things in the early stages, which did keep those claims off of the plan. But since COVID, the biometric screens were not as favorable, so the programs have changed. So I don't know how they've impacted claims and risk on the group since that.
Sure, and I don't know if we would have data because we changed it twice,
Right.
so, yeah. But we were, there was a lot of conversation around asking for more than just biometrics and other opportunities for wellness. And so the current program to qualify for July 1's wellness or the 23-24 plan year was redesigned again to offer different things, not just medical, but also financial, personal well-being, life balance, other things like that. So broader opportunities to work toward that personal wellness piece. So I think, as Janice said, we used to have much more clean data to sort of see that change on our loss ratio. And now it's going to be a little more subjective because we have various things like reading books, volunteering, learning more about your 403B financial literacy, things like that are not going to show up necessarily for us in a direct way. So it's much more subjective.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Krista. This is yours.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda items. For the consent agenda, the board has been furnished with background materials on each item or has discussed it at a previous meeting. These will be acted upon with one vote without discussion. If a board member wants to discuss any item, it'll be pulled out of the consent agenda and will be voted on separately. All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as provided. All right, Chris? Do I have a second?
Second.
Maggie? Right, motion by Chris, seconded by Maggie. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion passes. All right, Chris.
I just wanted to take time tonight to congratulate a few of our retirees we have this year. Excuse me. Just wanted to say congratulations to Joanne Ward. She has been in the district for 17 years and an administrative assistant at our high school and had quite an impact in many different places within with our office staff there and with the students and staff. So thank you. And then Todd Gunnarsson has served within our special education program, and he's been here for 18 years, so greatly missed, especially as, finding folks that teach in that area is getting tougher. So definitely he has been a great asset to the team in that over the years. And then Greg Gokowski, after 33 years of service in the School District of Holmen, he's been here since, actually, the story when I was student teaching, and I did a student teaching stint at Holmen High School. He was a teacher there. So I'm aging myself. Okay, let's move on. But congratulations to Greg for his many, many years of service and impact he's had too on the district and community and families. So thanks to all of them. Wish them well.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to the board debrief. I will call upon board members and ask you to present any comments or committee reports you have. So tonight we'll start with Bridget.
Thank you. Last week was National School Counselor Week, and as someone who works with counselors on a daily basis, I just think they're so instrumental in the success of our students, and I just wanted to thank them for their incredibly hard work. I know Kristen mentioned Bus Driver Appreciation Week, and I just have the utmost respect and gratitude for all of our bus drivers who get our children to and from school and activities safely, and they're just so appreciated. And then just an extra congratulations to high school teacher Donna Calloway for being chosen as the top-notch teacher. I think that's just really awesome. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Brian.
All I have is Student Achievement and Learning Committee will meet next Monday, February 20th at 4:30.
Okay, thank you. Barb.
He left, but thank you to Steve Doyle for his legislative update tonight. And then I would also like to extend my congratulations to Mrs. Calloway. That is a well-deserved award. She is very passionate and dedicated to the students of this district, and we are very fortunate to have her.
All right, thank you. Alan?
I'd just like to congratulate our dance team. They went to state and performed very well there. Also congratulating our wrestling team, very notoriously very good, getting regional championship, and particularly Turner Campbell, who's nominated for Wisconsin Sport Athlete of the Week. Great achievement. And so just voting on that. And so if you can, go out and vote for him. It'd be great to see that. Solo ensembles coming up this week, this Saturday. Plenty of people will be performing, band, choir, orchestra. As far as I'm aware, it is kind of open to viewing. So if you'd like to just stop in and see one of them perform, that'd be cool, I think, with most of them. Besides that, our ski and snowboard club, they went to Colorado, Aspen, to go ahead and ski and snowboard in the mountains over there, which, from what I've seen, is a really fun experience for them. I know a lot of them are looking forward to it, and it seems like they all really enjoyed that. And besides that, I just know boys hockey has done really well. They were conference champions, and I believe the season just wrapped up with their last JV game, if I'm not mistaken. But besides that, that's all I've got.
All right, thank you. Maggie?
Everything on my list has already been mentioned, so nothing from me tonight.
Nothing new? All right. Gary?
I'd like to congratulate the winter sports program. They all worked hard and did a good job this winter. We had a finance committee meeting tonight at 5:30? 5 o'clock? And then we covered we covered 4 of the remaining policies that we have due this year. One is investment policy, how we handle the money that we invest for the school district. Of course, the main job of that investment is to maintain the principal and follow the government rules. We're going to bring that forward in the next meeting or two. We also had 6.71.2 employee travel expenses. We had a nice talk about that, and we discussed about reimbursement of employees, et cetera. And we're going to work on that for a while longer. That should be coming forward. 671.4 expenses reimbursements. It's kind of fit hand in glove with employee travel expenses. And we're going to work on that for a little while longer. And then the last one was the accounting system, which is pretty much dictated by state laws and rules, how we handle that. So that wasn't too difficult. So that will be coming forward. And then we're going to start tackling some policies that are due next year.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Chris?
I would just say that we have a policy and governance meeting coming up on Wednesday evening at 5 o'clock. And anything else that I wanted to say was already mentioned, so thanks to those who covered that.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to also thank State Representative Steve Doyle for taking the time out of his busy schedule to come here. I really appreciate when our state legislatures actually come and hear more about Holmen, and we can learn more what's going on in whatever they do, so. And also want to thank the bus drivers for keeping our kids safe. I know we have an outstanding bus driver for my kids, and I appreciate her every day keeping our kids safe, so. Okay, moving on to item 11.3. The board has been provided with notes from the September 26, 2022 Facilities Committee meeting in our packets, so please take a look at that. Our upcoming board meeting schedule, we have several committee meetings coming up. We have Personnel and Governance on February 15th, Student Achievement and Learning Committee on February 20th, Facilities Committee on February 27th, and Finance Committee on March 13th. Our upcoming board meetings will take place on February 27th, then on March 13th, and then on March 27th. We have a candidate forum here for the candidates that are running for school board currently. That will take place on March 20th at 7 p.m. right here in the boardroom. And that will be led by Alan, right? Alan will be moderating that, as well as another student or two, a student? Okay, yep. And then after that, and you get a good idea who you want to vote for, the spring election is on April 4th. So please vote on that day. Let's see, the board's been provided with 8 administrative rules that will be discussed at upcoming committee meetings. So take a look at what's coming there. And also the Student Achievement and Learning, Personnel and Governance, and Facilities Committees are advancing 7 policies to the board for first reading. If these policies are approved, they will become effective on July 1st. And that is all I have for our board debrief. We're going to be moving into closed session this evening. So I now ask Board Clerk Brian Wopat to read the motion to move to closed session.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby moves to adjourn into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.851C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. In this case, the district administrator's evaluation. We'll do roll call, yes or no. Bridget Todd Robbins.
Yes.
Brian Wopat, yes. Barb Wench.
Yes.
Jennifer Deek.
Yes.
Maggie Smith.
Yes.
Gary Dunlop.
Yep.
Chris Lau.
Yes.
All right, Brian Wopat has made a motion. Is there a second?
I will second.
All right, thank you. We'll be starting up in a few minutes once the room clears.